This video is a simple visual explanation of hypergamy. I define hypergamy as the phenomenon of women attaining, marrying, pair bonding, and/or reproducing with male sexual partners that have greater cumulative economic, social, intellectual, physical, and utilitarian value than themselves, mainly for the purpose of personal financial security and resource extraction. Basically, hypergamy is a direct result of men being objectively better than women as a generalization. This image shows that men are the higher performers, the ones with the most biological potential. Now, this is just a symbolic diagram. Don't take the numbers or distributions too seriously. It's just for visual simplicity, but it's communicating something very complex in an abstract way. It is basically communicating that men are generally better than women on average, in terms of strength due to higher testosterone production, and in terms of intelligence due to larger brains and higher IQ levels. Men also blow women out of the water in terms of creativity and innovation, and studies suggest this is due to men having more developed spatial awareness and risk assessment capabilities due to their high testosterone levels and larger brains. There are other measurements of superior masculine traits such as humor, emotional stability, introspection, and bravery, but for this I'll stick to strength and intelligence for simplicity's sake. We separate men and women in sports leagues because women simply can't compete on a level playing field with men in that area, and most men and women acknowledge this biological disadvantage that women have. Likewise, most of the world's geniuses are men. Most of the people physically running and maintaining life-supporting infrastructure are men, and most of the inventors are men, over 95% in fact. Meanwhile, women work easier, less important jobs with less hours, get more university degrees in pointless fields of study, and account for 85% of global consumption, based on consumer spending. Yet most people are reluctant to say men are smarter than women and have more utility than women because of the religion of gender equality. We can objectively say that men in general have more biological potential than women when it comes to doing the things we have had to do in the past and have to do now in order to survive as individuals and as a society. This image shows that men rarely drop below the lowest 20% mark for human potential, because if men do drop that low, they will likely die very quickly or be thrown in jail, and they will likely not reproduce. Men are simply not given the safety nets that women have. We also see it is men who dominate the upper 20% of human potential due to their larger brains and more muscular bodies. Likewise, we see that women dominate the lower 20% of human potential because women in this area will still likely find a male provider partner willing to reproduce with her and/or receive government support or alimony. But we rarely see women above the 80% mark in terms of meeting the maximum human potential. This difference in potential is the basis of hypergamy. So traditional hypergamy is basically women pair bonding with men that are better than themselves in terms of intelligence and strength, which in a pre-feminized society directly translated to more income or earnings potential. In this traditional hypergamy model, men were usually given a high level of authority in the relationship because a woman would have a high level of financial dependency on that particular male. The amount of resources the woman could extract was directly dependent on her loyalty and cooperation with her male partner. Before women received affirmative action in education and the workplace, and before men were taxed to pay for single mothers, essentially becoming collective baby daddies, women were directly dependent on their male sexual partners for resources to a much higher degree. As a result, more women and men used to get married. While women were still marrying up in terms of utility, intelligence, and wealth, they were still marrying men who had similar sexual marketplace values, once the average superiority of men is taken into consideration. So basically, if we go by the previous example and say that men are on average 20% better than women, women would likely pair bond with a man who is around 20% better than herself. The best men would get the best women, the average men would get the average women, and the less biologically and financially abled men would be stuck with the fat chicks. Traditional hypergamy leads to relationship stability. However, what we have now is not traditional hypergamy. What we have now is what I call feminist hypergamy. Feminist hypergamy is what occurs when females change their parasitic strategy from an individual level, from an honest and upfront deal with an individual man, to something more organized and covert. Feminist hypergamy occurs when women are given male utility through political, legal, educational, and corporate privileges enforced by proxy. This occurs in societies where women can vote. So women are given political benefits because they make up over 51% of the electorate due to their longer life expectancy. So it's important politicians pander to women. This incentivizes politicians to pander to women, usually by increasing taxes on high earners, which are mostly males, and using those taxes to fund female-oriented programs like women's shelters, single mother handouts, daycare centers, and of course domestic violence advertising propaganda. Women are given legal benefits because the values of chivalry from traditional hypergamy still remain, because men use this as a mating strategy and as a subconscious behavior for social validation in general. Consequently, if a woman hits a man, she is scarcely punished. The surrounding onlookers may laugh at the man. But if that same man retaliates in self-defense, he'll be locked up or beaten up by vigilantes, who will also be given a get-out-of-jail-free card for their so-called good deed. Women also have the benefit of no-fault divorce, and they can literally marry a billionaire, then go suck another man's dick, get a divorce, and take millions of dollars from their male host with no responsibilities to him. Women are also given the benefits of affirmative action and female in-group preference in education and corporations, where it's seen as progressive to have higher performing women than men. So strategies are developed to ensure this outcome, often at the expense of high potential males. For example, in 2011, Delft University in Amsterdam only considered female applicants for professor roles in order to increase the amount of female staff. Also, in other universities, there are mandatory female quotas, which means lower performing women are given a place over higher performing males. Moreover, females are often looked upon favourably by male and female teaching staff due to their tendency to be more obedient and less questioning, and hence an ideal student for an authoritarian education system. So feminist hypergamy diverts male utility to women and children in many different ways. All the while, the media propaganda system is telling women that they are oppressed by men, and if they are performing as even semi-functional obedient employees at repetitive uncreative jobs, then they are marvels of human nature and must be praised relentlessly, while men in uncreative repetitive jobs such as garbage collection are to be mocked and ignored by women entirely. So feminist hypergamy inflates the female ego, which mostly affects the two extremes of female potential. A high potential woman that has 80% of the potential of a high performing male would have once considered a high performing male as a possible partner. But she now has overvalued herself to the extent that she has driven herself out of the mating market entirely. She will not settle for a man who earns as much as herself, or even just a little bit more, No. She wants a celebrity, a sports star, that's also a genius, rich, while spending a lot of money, and still has the time to lead an awesome social life and wants a family. In other words, she is chasing a man of so much potential that he does not and cannot exist, besides perhaps a few anomalies. Meanwhile, the low-performing, unattractive females are told that their curves or their fat is beautiful, that because they spent 50 grand on an arts degree at university, that they are as intelligent as men with degrees in STEM fields. So these women are expecting to secure relationships with males who are well out of their league. And when they fail, they get angry and start feminist blogs and work with high-performing, and the low-performing females and high-performing females work together to try and impose female superiority regulations, ignoring our biological reality that men simply have more potential than women. This leaves the remaining women with a lot more men to choose from, because 2 out of the 8 women are now out of the game. The remaining women are also given a few bonus sexual marketplace value points because of this, and can now seek men who would have usually been out of their league. This means that the upper half of men are getting pretty much 100% of the sexual access to females in their prime years, in their late teens and their 20s. The bottom half of males are the less intelligent, attractive, and wealthy, and they essentially get the remains and can only secure female sexual access with, say, single mothers or women who have mental disorders. Some of these men will often marry very fast to attain the illusion of security, and others will become male feminists to try and pander to fat, unattractive women that they currently cannot attain. The upper half of males need to be strong, wealthy, healthy, intelligent, educated, etc. And as a result, they need to devote a lot of time, energy, and resources to themselves to remain valuable in the mating game. Ironically, if they dedicate a lot of their time and money to women, they will also have to sacrifice some of their health and their money and time, obviously. And if a man loses his appeal, which is based on these things, because of this sacrifice to the female, she will essentially leave the relationship with as many assets as she can without a second thought, and then subsequently destroy his sexual marketplace value. So basically, if a man wants to remain competitive in the mating game, he can't afford long-term monogamy, cohabitation, or marriage. So one of the side effects of MGTOW is essentially maintaining your own sexual marketplace value. But what MGTOW is more about is maintaining your own personal integrity regardless of where you as an individual male rank on this scale of sexual marketplace value. As more of us walk away from long-term relationships, we actually make it easier for men who want to have long-term relationships with women. And also we make it easier for ourselves if we want to find an easy lay with an attractive woman. Because as a result of more men walking away, there are more single and desperate women that are realizing they aren't actually all that. On some level, MGTOW is a strategy that counteracts feminist and traditional hypergamy simultaneously. We simply understand that we are more valuable than women, and that if women want to associate with us, it can only be on our terms, which means we cannot give women legal or financial leverage over us, which, in this current social environment, means no marriage, cohabitation, or children. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative. Please share it around to people that you think might be interested in this concept, and be sure to subscribe, like, and comment.